had already made their homes and remained today, there, rising from the dust of the still trembling earth, stood the statue of Neg Marron. I was drawn by the image out of the car, and as I stood, weeping, an old woman put her arm around me. She too was crying. I said, Neg Marron toujours campé, the free man is still standing. And she replied powerfully, Chérie, Neg Marron, pap jam crasé. My dear, the free man will never be broken. It is with this surety that we must stand with Haiti, a country whose spirit and people will never be broken, and work in solidarity toward the future the Haitian people deserve. Joya S. Mukherjee.
Writing About Suffering. Read for you by Eric Conger.
Some years ago, after 2 decades of witnessing and writing about epidemic disease and violence of all types, I set out to write a book based on some lectures about violence and medicine that I'd given at the University of Rochester. The title of the book was going to be Swords of Sorrow, from a gospel line, Luke 2:35. Mary learns that her soul will be pierced by a sword of sorrow because she is willing to be a vessel of grace. I liked the alliteration. But I never finished that book. What was the point, I worried, of writing another book about the suffering caused by war and genocide and other misfortunes, natural and unnatural? I thought again about that truncated project shortly after an earthquake struck Haiti's capital city on January 12, 2010. Preliminary estimates of the dead ran to 6 figures. The immediacy of rescue and relief soon gave way to a series of questions about the dimensions of what had happened, about why Haiti had been particularly vulnerable to such a disaster, and about how to respond to the unfolding humanitarian crisis, to use the jargon of the day. Suffering is never just pure suffering. It occurs in a particular time and place. My book would have examined histories of suffering in Haiti, Guatemala, and Rwanda, Haiti being the place that has taught me the most. Knowledge of Haiti might not help a trauma surgeon attend to broken bodies pulled from the rubble, but deep familiarity with the place helped frame answers to some of the questions posed above, and also help guide actions in the aftermath of the quake and during the reconstruction that would follow. The relevant knowledge needed to be historically deep, because the damage caused by the quake and the responses to it were rooted in Haitian history, and geographically broad, because Haiti had for centuries been caught up in a transnational economic and political web, a condition very much on display before and after the quake. This may sound academic. I didn't want to write a dispassionate study of the Haitian earthquake. Instead, I wanted to offer an account of a difficult time, to bear witness. Bearing witness surely has a certain value, especially if it is linked to goodwill efforts to prevent unnecessary suffering caused by war or disease or insufficient preparation for natural disasters. Documentation by eyewitnesses can serve to inform people who are not on the scene but are in a position to help or hinder subsequent interventions. But was it appropriate for a physician, an American at that, to speak for the victims? Many in academia would argue vehemently that only the victims could speak for themselves, and that anyone who presumed to speak on their behalf would rob them of their agency. However, this is not always true. As far as the earthquake goes, the chief victims' voices were stilled forever. Seeking to echo and amplify, to paraphrase Haiti's former president Jean-Bertrand Aristide, the voices of those we encountered, as well as those silenced, was and remains our principal interest in writing about violence of all sorts. I use we and our here because a few months after the quake, a small group of friends and co-workers decided to put together an account of that terrible time. We've done our best to offer an honest rendering, even though no one had stopped to take notes amidst the maelstrom. It is also our desire to broadcast the voices of those most affected. This book faces the same problems I encountered in writing Swords of Sorrow. In addition to cliched and overly academic concerns about voice and representation, serious challenges are involved in seeking to write and complete a book in a few months. These challenges are heightened by publishing such a book in English because the primary victims of the quake do not speak English, or speak it less well than they do other languages.